Fear is one of the most powerful primal instincts that you and I can experience. It served our ancestral cave dwellers well. It kept them alive, and it's still a powerful motivator for you and me today. Marketers take advantage of our fear instinct by invoking it and then providing their product as the solution to eliminate fear. Buy this automobile if you want to survive a car crash. If you buy this breakfast cereal, you are more likely to escape heart disease. Buy this alarm system to protect your property and belongings against thieves. Politicians use fear as an incentive to gather votes and support. Fear of immigrants and terrorists, fear of overburdensome taxes, fear of that our country is slipping into a state of ungodliness, fear of too much government legislation or not enough government legislation, fear of climate change, fear of decreased social services, fear of the other political party. Vote for the right politician, and all of your fears will be put to rest. And religion is not immune from using fear to motivate the masses. In particular, the message coming from way too many pulpits is that escape from a torturous eternity of hellfire and damnation can only be guaranteed by regular church attendance, along with a substantial financial donation to the church's budget, a large chunk of which happens to be the pastor's salary. Fear is one of the most effective motivators, and the Pharisees in this morning's gospel text were using it to their advantage to get Jesus out of town and out of their hair. Herod, they told Jesus, was trying to kill him, and if he wanted to save his skin, he would do well to stop what he was doing, make himself scarce, and the sooner the better. Now, for most people, this would have been a good time to sit down and rethink things. Maybe this upcoming trip to Jerusalem wasn't such a good idea after all. Maybe walking right into the city of the guy who had beheaded John the Baptist wasn't the best plan of action. Maybe laying low and allowing things to cool down some was a bit of a better strategy. But Jesus wasn't most people. And he wasn't willing to compromise his principles with Herod in this week's gospel text any more than he was willing to compromise them with Satan in last week's text. And so he tells the Pharisees that they could let Herod know that he wasn't intimidated and he wouldn't be changing his course of action, not even for the likes of Herod. He would continue to heal the sick and proclaim the imminence of God's reign, a reign in which the first would be demoted to last place, and those at the bottom rung of the ladder would be raised to the top, an idea that didn't sit too well with those who were in power, such as the political and religious elite. And then Jesus moves into what is known as a lament, which is what I want to focus on this morning. A lament is a passionate expression of grief, often born out of regret or mourning. In today's text, Jesus was expressing heartache, not anger or condemnation as our present-day politicians and pulpit bangers do, but authentic heartache and grief for the city which was supposed to be the residence of God, but was noted instead for killing prophets who were the very voice of God. Jesus was unapologetically crying out against the way things were. And when this happens today, this outpouring of grief makes many Christians uncomfortable. Chaos and unanswered questions have no place in our neat and tidy worlds. And so we tried to move the person from lamentation to normalcy as quickly as we possibly can with words like, God has a plan even if you don't know what it is. Or, God won't give you any more than you can handle. Or, God needed another angel. We think of grief and lamentation as coming uncomfortably close to doubt in God's goodness, and any sort of outcry against injustice. Any questioning of God's will is but a hair's breadth away from sin and heresy. And so we hush the person, assuring them everything will be better, and squashing their grief because, quite frankly, it makes us uncomfortable. But lamentation is actually a sacred and holy experience. Through it, we experience an intimate connection with God in ways that we could never otherwise do. When we give voice to our spiritual sorrows, our grief binds us inextricably to the source of our future healing. And ironically enough, it's when we cry out at injustices in life that we often find the motivation for making a difference. And in so doing, not only do we ourselves experience spiritual healing, but we create healing in a broken world. Jesus didn't throw in the towel when he encountered the rejection of his people. Even as he cried out for Jerusalem, comparing his love for it to the love of a mother hen for her baby chicks. Even as he wept for the very people who would be demanding his execution just days after proclaiming him to be their Messiah. The very act of lamentation seemed to provide the resolve he needed to fulfill his destiny. He continued on his way to Jerusalem, entering the city knowing full well what the outcome would be. This firm resolve reminds me of the freedom riders in the early 1960s who were not discouraged by ugly threats and violence when they integrated buses in the South during the Civil Rights era. Some were killed, many were beaten, and even more lost their homes. But they did not back down. That sort of resolve is born out of lamentation. Lamentation gives voice to the things that are not right in the world. It cries out against injustice, and it gives birth to movements that have the potential of changing the world. So if you are experiencing loss in your life, loss of health, loss of home, loss of job, loss of loved ones, then grieve. If you are experiencing injustice within a society that says no to your yes, then cry out against that society. Throw your head back and cry out to the heavens with your pain and sorrow, and scream at the injustice of it all. And if you are standing in the presence of a friend's or loved one's pain, then do just that. Stand quietly and be present. Give witness to their agony. Don't placate them with rosy platitudes. Validate their lamentation. But never lose hope. Even in our deepest despair, we can hold on to the fact that God will never abandon us. The psalmist reminds us that God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, even if the earth should open up in front of us and the mountains plunge into the depths of the sea. Even if the earth's waters rage and foam, and the mountains tumble with its heaving. If we look at the season of Lent, as a journey of renewal, of becoming whole again, as I think we should indeed see it, then part of that renewal is embracing the ability to cry out to God with laments of why, how long, and how much more. So give voice to your grief and touch the heart of God with your lament. Feel the loving touch of God in return. And through that holy exchange, may you find the strength to carry on and live to see a day of brightness and beauty. Amen.